And we are live. Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Forever Motorsports. Second light will be useful. There we go. And as you can see on the screen, we've got 17 and a half minutes to go until the F1 trailer is dropped. But I thought, it's been a while since we've gone live on the channel, and I thought it'll be a fun way to kind of just start talking a little bit about the season to come and what we can expect to see, because it's all starting to get very, very real, isn't it? We've got the F1 titles that came out earlier today. We've got interviews now coming up. We've got you know press conferences and the likes of that. So there's a lot that's starting to happen, and we can really start to get going with the season. And what a season I think we're going to have. It's probably one of the most anticipated seasons ever, really, in Formula One history. Genuinely, because we've not seen such big movement and so many different sort of changes between teams. We've got a hell of a lot of rookies coming in, and it's all set up to be a really, really memorable season. The question is, can it all sort of live up to the billing? We're sitting here looking at a season where we've got Lewis Hamilton, arguably the biggest move of all time, has just taken place ahead of the new season. We've got Carlos Sainz moving to Williams, sort of spearheading what's hopefully going to be the start of getting Williams back to being one of the best sides, best teams in the world. We've got a big risk being taken by Mercedes. We're talking about Mercedes, a side that 2 seasons ago won the or 2 3 seasons ago won sort of the construction and the likes of that. Now they are taking a risk on a rookie in Kimi Antonelli, and is this the next big thing? And this is the big question. Max Verstappen's going into a season without potentially the fastest car. That's a genuine thing that people are talking about. The fact that going into this weekend, Lando Norris is expected to be on pole. He's expected to be the fastest on the grid. The McLaren's expected to be the fastest, and the Red Bulls said not to be within the top two. So expected to come in the third fastest weekend. So it's going to be a very cool season, and I'm very excited to see kind of exactly what the season's going to hold for us, because the reality is, we don't know what's going to happen with the Ferraris. We don't actually. I mean, there's been accusations that they're sandbagging and that they've actually got a really, really good car that we're just not seeing. For example, there's accusations that they're suddenly going to rock up tomorrow, basically, or on Saturday with quali and be really competitive. Aston Martin, we've got no idea what to expect. It's a car that Adrian Newey has supposedly not worked on. He's only supposed to be coming in. He started now, but he's only supposed to be sort of really influencing the car from next season. We've got Sauber, who've got two new drivers in Nico Hülkenberg and Bortoleto, and what's the project going to be? The news earlier this week that Jonathan Wheatley from Red Bull is starting as team principal for the Japanese Grand Prix as they sort of continue their journey. And if we're going to see a competitive Audi in a few years' time, we need to start seeing something happening from Sauber. And I think there's exciting things for almost every single team on the grid. Alpine took a step forward last season, so that was a really positive thing. And hopefully we're going to see them continue that. And I'd love to see the likes of Pierre Gasly consistently making Q1 for us, or Q3, and consistently getting into the top 10, scoring points. The Haas, what do we expect from Haas? Ollie Behrman, who is probably at this stage your most likely Lewis Hamilton replacement for Ferrari in a few years' time. How is he going to go in his full debut season? You've got the likes of a Jack Doohan. What's he going to be like incoming this season? For me, one of the things I'm really looking forward to is the Max Verstappen Liam Lawson situation. The fact that Liam Lawson is not a yes man. He's not a driver that's going to just. I think personally, I don't think he's just going to just sit back and let Max Verstappen dictate terms about what's going on. I don't think he's going to be your Valtteri Bottas and the likes who kind of just let Lewis Hamilton do his thing back in the day, and Checo Perez, who just wasn't really competitive. I think that Liam Lawson's got genuine pace, and I think he's the type of person that's not going to just roll over and let Max Verstappen, be the number one driver at all times. I think he's going to genuinely be out there trying to show that he is worthy of the investment they made in him. Oscar Piastri's just signed a brand new contract for McLaren. It's said to be earning $20 million a year. Now, that's a contract where I think, last season they had to back Lando. They got to a point where they had to pick a driver. They had to sort of focus on a driver. And we kind of saw it in Drive to Survive in amongst all the different drama. And they said they're going to back Lando Norris and the likes of that. I think Oscar Piastri in a few years' time could be more competitive than Lando Norris. And I think Oscar Piastri genuinely believes himself that he is a future potential world championship winner, And now he's in an interesting situation where he will have to play second fiddle to a point of view. But I think he's also be very aware of the fact that if things start going well for him, and he wins 2 or 3 races early on and is ahead of Oscar in the first few weeks, then he creates a real genuine case for McLaren to turn around and say, actually, you know what, you're the faster driver, and be happy to back him. So there's so many different subplots to this season. George Russell, for example, he's going to be the principal driver, your main driver now for Mercedes. Is he ready for that? And we haven't even spoken about Ferrari. And there's so many different subplots to the Ferrari season itself. More than just the Lewis Hamilton, starting at Ferrari. It's the dynamic between Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. And the idea that there's a senior driver, which surely is Lewis Hamilton from a world titles point of view. But then you've got Charles Leclerc who's been at Ferrari for so many years, and he's the established driver, and. So it's all going to be really, really cool. Let's talk about the movie itself. So we've got the trailer, which is dropping in just over 10 minutes. Obviously, director of Top Gun Maverick. So, I'm very, very keen to see what they produce and what Joseph Kosinski is going to give us. Because, Formula One is absolutely blown up in the last decade. Drive to Survive has just blown. It's one of the biggest sports in the world globally, and you look at some of the Formula One movies in the past. Some of them have been pretty poor, and then they made Rush, and I thought Rush was absolutely brilliant. And they made some very cool racing movies in the last 10 years. I thought Gran Turismo, a little bit gimmicky, was very, very cool. And Drive to Survive has shown us a dramatization of real events. It's documentary, so it's what's actually happening. It's unprecedented access. It's seeing what really goes on, and this is like a step further because obviously this is not fictional, but based on kind of what generally does happen. So the idea is this is almost taking a step further from Drive to Survive and really showing what goes on behind the closed doors that we don't even get to see in Drive to Survive, the likes of that. You look at what they've been doing with regards to the filming, and they've been filming at races and where they're putting the cameras on cars and the likes of that, and it's gonna. it looks like it's gonna be visually absolutely spectacular. And Brad Pitt headlining it. It's been a long-term project, and it's set to preview or debut, by the way, on the 27th of June is the official release date for it. My only sort of gripe is surely we could have found a better name than F1. The F1 movie for years and years and years, and then they were like, right, and the official news is the name is F1. So it was quite boring in the end in terms of, I think they could have got something really pretty cool. Like, I really enjoyed Rush as a name and the likes of that. So I think that's my early critiques, that we could have found a better name. I think we could have found something a bit more fun, a bit cooler, a bit more relevant, and create a bit more hype than just the F1 movie, which is kind of where we're at with it. But at the end of the day, I think everyone just wants it to be good. We just want to see a movie that racing fans will enjoy. I think that's the big thing. So often when you see sports movies, they're not bad movies, but they're so inaccurate and it's so over dramatic and over dramatized that the fans of the sport watch it and go, no, it doesn't really do it for me. And that's, I think, what we want to see out of the F1 movie is we want to see something that racing fans can watch and enjoy. That they can really get into it. They can watch a scene and be like, oh, that's so cool, and be able to make comparisons. Be able to see crashes or incidents and be like, oh, that's like when this happened, the likes of that. And be able to put yourself in Brad Pitt's situation and be able to kind of live vicariously through this fictional character on screen, where we can understand what it is to be an F1 driver, more so than what we get out of a Drive to Survive. That's the thing. We've got a really good documentary, so we see the stories. And Drive to Survive, I think, the stories that Drive to Survive show are the rivalries, for example, and you get a bit of a glimpse of what it's like to be a driver, but it's far more focused on the stories, the individuals and their life stories, for example, and where they've come from to create events and moments that are worth showing. This is not a movie where it's going to be sort of following a driver's career, but in full, and we're hopefully going to be able to see what it means to get to being Formula One driver. Look, I mean, in terms of the plot, we don't know too much about exactly what it's going to be. It's a former driver, basically. Let's actually go through the film synopsis, shall we? So the premise of the film is that Sonny Hayes, which is played by Brad Pitt, is a Formula One driver who raced in the 1990s, has a horrible crash, forcing him to retire from Formula One and start racing in other disciplines. A Formula One team owner and friend, Ruben, who's played by Javier Bardem, contacts Hayes and asks him to come out of retirement to mentor rookie prodigy Joshua Nopius, played by Damson Idris, for the Apex Grand Prix team. So that's the team of the movie is Apex Grand Prix. So yeah, I mean, there's not too many sort of big names in the movie itself. But what's very cool is because it's officially branded within F1 and because it's tied to F1 and possibly funded by the F1, the likes of that, is that there's obviously a cast of different drivers and different cast members, but also there are people who are appearing as themselves. So that includes Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and you can see there's actually interactions between these drivers and the actual real drivers in the movie. There's the list of drivers is massive. I mean, it's even like Valtteri Bottas, Franco Colapinto, over the different seasons where they're filmed. Gunther Steiner is in the movie. There's a lot of different real life characters. So it's interesting because it's a fictional character within a real world setting, but it's a fictional storyline, and obviously the movie being fiction itself, as opposed to a boat, based on a true story, and the likes of that. So the film's budget is rumored to be at about $300 million, which is huge. They've denied it, but I don't think it'll be massive more than that. And the big obviously news as well is it's going to be scored by Hans Zimmer. So they've got some of the best here in making this movie. The screenplay is by Aaron Kruger, who is won awards and written some really, really big movies, the likes of the Transformers series. I think it was the number 2, 3, and 4 he wrote. He wrote Top Gun Maverick. That was sort of his big one, I think, probably his best one so far. But so he wrote The Brothers Grimm, also a big movie. And he's produced a lot of different movies in the last. So it's a really good team behind the movie. And Brad Pitt is also co-producing. I think Lewis Hamilton's a producer officially on it as well. So it's got all the ingredients. The question is, can they get it right? It's being produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. He departs the Caribbean. That's one of his big franchises that did really, really well. So, I mean, his productions are huge. I mean, they don't get much bigger. The original Top Gun, for example, that's it. All the Pirates of the Caribbean, National Treasure series, so many different. So, as I said, they've got the big names. They've really got it right with regards to who's involved in the project itself. The question is, can they get the project? Have they gotten the project right? And hopefully we're going to see a little bit kind of the vibe we're going to see in the trailer, which comes out in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So hang around for that when it does come out. I think Brad Pitt's not a bad character to have. I think a lot of people kind of over Brad Pitt to a certain degree, and maybe there was someone who's a bit newer, fresher, maybe a bit more relevant right now. I suppose. I mean, what's ridiculous about it is, he's playing the retired Formula One driver that comes back in. I mean, he's 60 years old. So I suppose, this is basically the Fernando Alonso story, maybe, him coming back and I don't think Fernando Alonso's coming back at 60. Yeah, I think once he's done now, he's pretty much done. But yeah, so I mean, age-wise, I think they're sort of passing him off at kind of for the 40s. I think from the looks of it, that's kind of the age I would have to guess when you sort of see the character. I don't know if we actually get an idea of how old he really is during the film itself. That's, I suppose, maybe something that might be mentioned in the trailer as well. But yeah, so that's and what I'm really hoping to see is a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. You know, I want to see really cool visuals of the race itself. We saw that in Rush, but I think what was very cool about like a movie like Rush was seeing how the drivers interacted and the involvement in the production of the cars and the testing and the whole thing. And this is not a documentary, so I don't think it'll be as technical as Rush. I think it's gonna be far more blockbuster. So I expect big crashes. You know, I think is the crash where he initially gets retired, which we'll probably see in the official trailer, will probably be something quite intense. What will be interesting is where do they focus? You know, is the focus on the comeback story? Is the focus on Formula One itself and the different aspects of racing? And what are they really gonna focus on in the movie itself? And obviously, we're gonna get our best look at it now in call it about 90 seconds. So let me know what you think, by the way, in the comments. What are you looking forward to within the movie itself? You know, what parts of the movie are you looking forward to? Is it the racing, you know, footage and the likes of that? Is it the storyline? Is it seeing how they're going to kind of incorporate real life events into it or real life characters and the likes? Because there's a lot to look forward to in so many different potentially story aspects. But I'd be interested to know what sort of the general feelings of the racing fan. What part are people excited about? And we have officially got 60 seconds to go. It wasn't initially supposed to come. David, well, initially made it seem as if it was coming out at 10 to 7. Now we're having to wait till 7 o'clock on the dot itself. But we are almost there, and 45 seconds. Let's hope it lives to the billing, because we've been chatting for about almost 20 odd minutes, and it'd be very, very disappointing if we've done all that just for what is going to be a really ordinary trailer. So I'm really hoping that in 35 seconds something very cool actually does drop. About 20 seconds left, and then we're going to see some Brad Pitt and hopefully a really, really cool trailer. Right, well, here we go. All the anticipation. We've got almost, what, April, May, June, July? April, June. So we've got 3 months till it features. Here we go.
Junkie who missed his shot.
Ah, so initially we already got a bit of a subplot. The gambling junkie.
The best that never was.
Best that never was. Chip on the shoulder.
Possibility. My rook is a phenomenal talent. But he's young.
So this is the whole Apex. Even the MSC, they're pretty shameless with the sponsors. I suppose you're always going to have to be.
You won a race? Sunday, Daytona? Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Formula One. Oh, I'm sorry. Then same as you.
There's this new guy. He's old. He's such a prick. He's quick though.
No, he's quick though, right? So
Constructive criticism for each other, what would it be?
Don't be such an ass dickhead. That was constructive.
Wow.
yeah, the actual Abu Dhabi tracks.
Did you win something? There's 20 other drivers still out on that track. Do you think any of them respect us?
Yeah, they crash into each other. That's a bit of internal teammate rifts.
an open seat in Formula One. The only place you could say, if you win, you are the absolute best in the world.
Quite a cool line, actually. The only place where you could say, if you win, you're the ultimate best in the world. Right, well, there we have it. Okay, so interesting. In terms of the subplots, gambling, already there. So I imagine the drinking problem as well usually sort of come hands in hand. So already we're looking at a character with a gambling issue, with a drink issue, massive chip on the shoulder, internal rift within the team. I'm hoping we actually going to see a bit of that in Red Bull this year, to be honest. And it's the big and it's the standard senior statesman versus rookies battle, isn't it? You know, we've seen this time and time again. I suppose we're probably going to see it this year a little bit with. They're not aggressive enough, but I suppose the closest thing is, I suppose, Max Verstappen and Liam Lawson to a certain degree. That could be kind of, I think actually that could be quite a good comparison, because I think those two might sort of clash a little bit this year. But it is a little bit, not quite Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, but it very much maybe Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll. He's a prodigy though, so not really a Stroll. As Zadok says, so it's Brad Pitt versus Verstappen, more or less. I suppose it's a pretty good comparison actually. Yeah, the big prodigy coming through. That's cocky, nose is done, but hasn't really earned a stripes, versus the veteran who hasn't won anything. Was talented, but has just never really lived up to the expectations. So, well, there we go. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad. I mean, not sure about the whole gambling situation. We'll have to see what that really sort of plays out. But the visuals look cool. The cars look cool. The visuals look cool. There obviously is a bit of a romance part of it, which is pretty standard when it comes to any sort of Brad Pitt film. If Brad Pitt's not having some sort of romance with a very attractive woman, then it's not a Brad Pitt film. But yeah, I mean, we're going through some of it. As I said, the visuals over here, when it actually started getting racing, look pretty. Now we can't watch it apparently. Okay, so they've probably taken it down or stopped the stream or whatever. So unfortunately, that be that. Well, people, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Smash like on the video. We'll obviously do a bit of a review of the movie when it eventually comes out in June. And yeah, but let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. And go to bed, get yourself some rest if you are not in Australia, because in, where are we, about 6 hours, the first practice of the season gets underway. We will be running track stuff for it, obviously, and doing coverage all over the weekend. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll see you guys